the WNBA, the tranquility and the peace and harmony of that league that we normally expect. It's just like a babbling brook and birds chirping and just no issues whatsoever. Yeah, no, right. So, Dave, all right, let's go here. It involves Caitlin Clark. I know you're going to be very shocked to know that this WNBA story involves Caitlin Clark. Elle Duncan was on Bomani Jones' podcast, and she's referring to, again, the allegations, some of which I'm quite certain are true, and some of which it has been asserted by others in the media are perhaps being exaggerated. But let's take a look here. Elle Duncan says, Caitlin Clark's never been around black women or people from different parts of the country. She sort of existed in this bubble of women that were raised with similar backgrounds, black, white, or other. They had similar backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds, and she'll get better with understanding and talking about race the more she's exposed to people with different backgrounds. But right now, anything that she's saying is going to sound a bit performative because she doesn't actually know. Give her time. This in reference to the idea that Caitlin Clark, that it's incumbent upon Caitlin Clark in some way to speak out, and I suppose speak out specifically against those who are alleged to be spewing hatred and racism toward other players in the WNBA because they are Caitlin Clark fans. Dave, as fatigued as we may be of this particular topic, what are your thoughts? I feel like Caitlin Clark has handled everything pretty much in a textbook manner. She handled her business on the court. It seems like every statement that she makes hits a good note. I don't know if she's being coached up well or if she's just very sensible and has good instincts. It seems to me like it's a lot of the latter. What do you want from this woman?
A third amen. I don't know what else we want to extract from Caitlin Clark at the, what is she, 21? I mean, like, Elle Duncan, everybody's entitled to their opinion. She can have hers. I mean, she's making a huge leap that she knows Caitlin Clark's background and upbringing, which is stunning to me that she knows who Caitlin Clark grew up with. Like, really? I mean, maybe it's all true. I don't know, but who's doing the autobiography of Caitlin Clark at 8 and 10 and 12 and who she associated with and like, what are we doing here? So, like, I would challenge Elle Duncan to say, well, do you remember all your views at that ripe young age? Were you asked about them on a national platform to espouse about race in America? Is that what you were doing? Do we have to go back and look at all of our childhoods to see how our opinions were formed? What in the world are we doing? It's a basketball player, a very talented basketball player. If she wants to get involved in the political arena, then by all means, go with grace and do it. But if she doesn't, can't she just be the best rookie that we saw in your fledgling league? And it's helped to raise all tides, and people are starting to talk about your league for the play of the league. And now, like, what's next? Can I get Caitlin Clark's opinion on the Kennedy assassination? Does she know who was behind the grassy knoll? Were the Russians involved? Was it all Lee Harvey Oswald? Like, what in the world are we asking of our young adults that are now put on these pedestals for athletics? Ricky, for the life of me, that's wonderful that that's what Elle Duncan wants out of Caitlin Clark. And, you know, the adage at the end, she'll get there. She'll get there. And why does she have to get there? Whose responsibility is it? It's Caitlin Clark's responsibility now? This is absurd to me. So, look, I just wish we could let people be the people that they are. And if they're politically driven, or if they want to get into socioeconomics of America and the racial background of America, if that's what they want to do because that's who they are, awesome. But if they're not, I know people got so offended by Michael Jordan back in the 80s when they kind of did the same thing with him. And what did he say? Republicans buy sneakers too. And Mike didn't want to get involved in it. And he really hasn't gotten involved with it his whole life because he's not driven that way. Why can't that be okay too? So I get it. She's the biggest star they have in the WNBA. So people have expectations outside of the realm of basketball. But if we could go with the Jordan example and many other athletes that do not want to be involved with this, they want to be athletes. Why can't they just be athletes? Can we just let Caitlin Clark be whoever she is? And if she wants to speak on that, Elle Duncan, I'm sure she will in time.
Yeah, my hero in athletics is Muhammad Ali, who spoke out loudly and boldly on race, on the war, on all kinds of things. But this idea in modern times that athletes must do this
right,
as if it's part of the job is really starting to wear thin with me. And I agree with pretty much everything you said, Dave. If that's something that somebody feels called to do, I'm not a shut up and dribble person.
Me neither.
If you have things that you want to say and you have something to offer and you feel called to do that, then you're entitled to use your platform however you see fit. But for it to be seen as you're lacking in some way or you're abdicating a responsibility by not taking on these social justice issues when you're being paid to play basketball, I find it to be not just ridiculous, but it's becoming very grating and annoying. And here's another thing that I will say about the WNBA. They get a little spotlight on them after 30 years of being in the FBI witness protection program. And instead of saying, oh my God, now we are actually being watched and let's focus on putting the best quality product out there that we can. Let's put our best foot forward. Let's impress people. Let's grow this game. Instead, they keep hammering away on Caitlin Clark and on these types of things to a point where it becomes off-putting, I would argue, because 98.9% of the country still doesn't give a fuck about their on-court product, and that means they certainly don't care what the Washington Mystics, sixth woman has to say about important political, cultural issues. You're not Muhammad Ali. That doesn't mean that you don't have a right to speak out, but it means that you're missing an opportunity here to get people more interested and invested in your game by focusing so much on this off the court distraction stuff. And let's face it, they're complaining about the biggest idiots. Let's assume that at least a substantial portion of what they're talking about is occurring, that they're hearing hateful things. I don't know that we have any documented incidents on tape of people being inflammatory, at games or whatever. Brittany Griner's talking about these terrible things she hears. Look, I don't know what she's heard or what she hasn't heard, but we don't have a smoking gun, or at least I'm not aware of it. Now, online, Dave, we know people say the most stupid, inflammatory things, but you're talking about the dumbest 5 to 10% of the population, and their focus, then they're always going to be there, Dave. There's always going to be 5 to 10% of the public that is saying and believing stupid things. And it's like the WNBA players have chosen to focus on idiots rather than the people of sensibility who there's far more of that they could potentially win as fans. I don't get it.
Oh, all of that, everything. If you just parcel that down, it was so well said. It's exactly where I am. And I hope the league realizes we're rooting for you. We want to be emotionally invested in your product, that we enjoy your game and we enjoy the skill level that you've gotten, and the skill level is getting better and all of those things. These are distractions. These things take away from what we're rooting for. The success of your league. And to the point about Muhammad Ali, you'll love this, Ricky. I hated Muhammad Ali as a kid. I hated him. because again, I'm a kid, and this is kind of Elle Duncan. Like when I'm a younger man, my opinions change over time. So I thought, oh, he's a draft dodger, and I'm just being told he doesn't like the country and all these things. Then when I got older, and I learned to respect the hell out of Muhammad Ali for taking a stand, giving up the heavyweight championship of the world because it meant something to him that he did not want to go in fight in a war that he felt for his purposes was unjust. So he was willing to actually sacrifice something at that time, which was the biggest single individual sporting achievement you could have, the heavyweight championship of the world, and give it up and do time instead of doing his service. So I learned to appreciate that as a service member. I appreciated it. And I went,
and he wasn't going to go out and do what you did anyway, Dave. They would have had him going around and making appearances and doing boxing exhibition. He would have been Bob Hope, essentially. He would have had it as easy as anybody in Vietnam.
That's right. They, like Joe Louis, if you go back to World War II, that's kind of what Joe was. He was almost like an ambassador. That's what they wanted Muhammad Ali to be. But good for Cassius Clay, then Muhammad Ali. He didn't want to do that. He wasn't going to play the role, and he was willing to sacrifice something for it. Joe Frazier, who was kind of the antithesis of Muhammad Ali back in the 70s, fight of the century in Madison Square Garden, I felt like his whole career, and I get so into this, Ricky, like When We Were Kings, those documentaries, I love them. And it was almost like
so good.
They pitted those guys against each other unnecessarily, right? And I think we see this in the WNBA. We're pitting the league to a degree. Angel Reese against Caitlin Clark. We're trying to manufacture some of the stuff that we saw from the 70s, which did, from a sporting society, pull the country apart. It's not healthy. It's unnecessary. And why we get this rhetoric about why Caitlin Clark needs to say these things is beyond me. We've seen this before, America. And again, one of my favorite quotes is, those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. The WNBA, sadly, is falling into a bit of this race trap, and they really should divert from it sooner rather than later, because, Ricky, you were spot on. People get annoyed with it after a while, and they will tune you out because they just don't care to hear the arguments anymore.
Yeah, is the juice worth the squeeze to be interested in Caitlin Clark's career, particularly for guys like me who have had very little interest in women's basketball throughout my entire life, but I see this young woman hitting 30-foot three-pointers from the logo, and suddenly I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm kind of interested now. I want to know more about her. And
yes,
there's a lot of people like me, but at what point do some of them say, well, geez, all these women do is they just bicker back and forth about everything except basketball. And you know what? I lived without following the WNBA for my entire life, and I guess I'll be fine without it now if this is all I'm going to get when I tune into it. So I think they got to be real careful, or they're going to end up misplaying the best possible hand that they could have been dealt with Caitlin Clark.
Costco is selling this bear sign featuring DJ Moore and Caleb Williams. Except that is not Caleb Williams. How can I tell? Well, aside from the sleeves, the throwing motion, and the Dick Buckus patch that they only wore last year, that's Justin Fields. They just took Justin Fields' body and put Caleb Williams' head on it.
Well, Costco, they're all about cutting prices, and apparently they're all about cutting their own internal production cost as well, Dave, because we've got the Frankenstein monster of Caleb Fields there, and they were hoping that nobody would catch on to that, apparently, but we have, Costco. What the fuck, Dave? I'll ask you that. That's Ronnie's segment. It's called What the Fuck, Ron, but there's a what the fuck for you, Dave.
Well, I think that's the quarterback Chicago wants. They want Justin Fields' body with Caleb Williams' head, but that's exactly what they want. They'd have the super quarterback they've been looking for in Chicago for about 50 years. It's so funny.
Would backfire. It would backfire. We would just get a guy who sucks and paints his nails. That's what would happen. we would get did you ever see Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, where he keeps cloning himself? He eventually gets the back. I know our luck in this city. We would get the worst attributes of both of those guys if we attempted that.
They'd mix it up. Yeah, I think they wanted Justin. You know this. They wanted Justin Fields to work out so badly in Chicago, but I think now, Costco, get the real likeness of Caleb for your products. Okay, you're not fooling that city, that fan base. They're gonna figure it out. But I do think the fans are figuring it out. It was the wise decision by Ryan Poles and management to move on from Justin and go to Caleb. Look, Costco notwithstanding, I think they've got the right quarterback for the future. It's getting better week by week, but Costco, step your game up.
Yeah, come on, Costco. We expect a little bit better from you. If you're a baseball fan, this is the most wonderful time of the year. Maybe your team is not in the playoffs, and that's not so wonderful, but we got exciting stuff happening in Major League Baseball right now. We are going to have the League Championship Series matchups decided tomorrow night. We have the Padres and the Dodgers tonight, so we're going to settle the NL matchup. Of course, the New York Mets await the winner of the San Diego Padres Los Angeles Dodgers series. They closed out the Philadelphia Phillies on Wednesday night. And over in the American League, the New York Yankees, behind a strong performance from Garrett Cole, have put away the Kansas City Royals, and they await the winner of tomorrow night's Game 5 between the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers. So really exciting stuff. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and fall is definitely in the air now, and what's better than October baseball? So right now, let me bring in a man who knows a little something about baseball. I am talking about a 3-time Major League All-Star, a career .302 hitter, and the host of the Mayor's Office podcast on Believe. Sean Casey joins the program. Sean, how are you this morning?
Great, Ricky. I'm great, man. How are you doing, brother?
Doing awesome, my man. I'm so happy to have you on. Always a pleasure to welcome a career 300 hitter to the program. You know, you guys don't grow on trees.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Great to be on and with you, brother.
Well, Sean, let me go ahead and pick your brain about these playoffs. We've got 6 teams that are alive, and that 6 is going to be 5 by the end of the night, and it's going to be 4 by the end of the day tomorrow. You, of course, know a little something about this New York Yankees team. You were the hitting coach last year on Aaron Boone's staff for the second half of the season before moving back into broadcasting full time. You know that club very well. And of course, you know every club very well because your job is you follow this stuff and you analyze it at a very high level. So tell me what you think right now. We got Padres, Dodgers tonight. We got Guardians, Tigers tomorrow. What are you looking at as you assess these elimination games?
Well, you got to love that when these series go to 5 games. I think it's fun for everybody, for all the baseball fans. When you see it go to 5 games, you know, you love the do or die situations. I think the Dodgers sent a big message in that series on Game 4 when they said, you know what, we're gonna punch back. I mean, it looked like the Padres were gonna take that series. The Dodgers had to do a bullpen game in Game 4, but they came out banging early on. Really got the Dylan Cease 1-8-0. So going back to LA for Game 5, I think the Dodgers feel really good. But that series has been just blow for blow, pretty fun to watch. And I think the Guardians over there in the American League, you know, going against the Tigers, they really, I think they were 0-11 going into elimination games in these last few years of the playoffs before yesterday when they won that game. So big statement game by the Guardians, found a way to win. David Fry with the big home run late. They're going to Game 5 too back in Cleveland. So it sets up well. And, you know, the Yankees and the Mets are obviously waiting in the wings to see who they play. The Yankees figured out a way to take care of the Royals last night with a little bit of small ball, a few hits here and there. Garrett Cole looked like Garrett Cole settled in real nice. So it's just been a really great playoff so far. The magical Mets, and it's I'll be locked in. I'll be locked into the game tonight and tomorrow too.
Sean, as a player, as a manager, is there any way that you approach a game of such magnitude differently? Or are you trying to look at it like any other game? Obviously, the eyes of the world watching, a lot of pressure. How do you handle that as a player or as a manager?
Well, I think the biggest thing as a player is that you got to make sure that you control the moment. You got to make sure that you control the heartbeat. You know, you don't want it to get too big where you're like, okay, this is everything. I got to go out there and get a hit every at bat. I mean, at the end of the day, to play this game in Major League Baseball, you really got to find a way to slow down, you know, be present, focus on the task at hand. So I think I think the team that does that best tonight is going to win. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to get runners on, you got to hit runners in scoring position. But for a player, man, if I was a manager, I would just say, hey guys, you know, it's obviously not just another game, but we have to look at it as another game because we got to make sure that our abilities come out in crucial situations when we need it to come out. We need to go out there and pitch and hit and do the things we need to do.
I think Major League Baseball would probably love to see Shohei Ohtani in the World Series and extend this Ohtani magical season as long into the very end of the year, into November, if possible. Sean, have you ever seen anything in your life as remarkable as this guy? We've already seen him have a 15-win season as a pitcher, 200 plus strikeouts. He finished, I think, number 4 in Cy Young voting a few years ago. Now we've got this 50-50 season where he's putting up video game numbers. What are your thoughts on this guy, and how can you put him into perspective for the average
Ricky,
fan?
I think he's truly a unicorn. Literally, I mean, I just feel like watching him do what he's done, especially going 50-50 this year, doing something we've never seen. I don't think we would have ever seen him do that either if he was pitching. Because if he was pitching, I think he's going to try and save his legs more. You might see 20, 25 bags like we've seen in the past, but I don't think we would have seen 50-50. So just to see that has been incredible. But also, like you said, I mean, what's amazing about this guy, he's also one of the best pitchers in the game. And obviously that's the reason he got $700 million, $70 million a year, was because he can do both at such a high level. So the incredible thing is, you know, I love the fact that he's in the postseason. I love the fact because his first 6 years when he was with the Angels, we never got a chance to see him in postseason baseball. It's great to see him in postseason baseball. It's great to see what he's doing. And I think as a fan, when we watch Shohei Ohtani, hopefully we're all stepping back a second to go, wow, this guy is one of the best hitters in the game. And he's also one of the best pitchers. And not only one of the best, hitters, but he's winning MVPs. And he's going to win an MVP this year just as a hitter, which I find to be incredible. So truly a unicorn, Ricky. And like I said, hopefully we're tuning into Game 5 in that Dodgers-Padres series, and hopefully we're really appreciating what we're looking at.
Sean, I had Will Clark on the program last week, and he obviously is another guy that, you start talking about the art of hitting with Will Clark, and you could go on for a very long time. But the same is true for you. I wanted to ask you, you've been a hitting coach at the major league level, obviously an outstanding, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and mention it a third time. You should get me to be your PR guy, Sean. 302 career major league hitter. The game has changed so much with the data, the analytics, exit velocity, launch angle. I'm sure that you were using videotape and so forth in your day as well. But if you came up today and you were a 23, 24-year-old guy just starting out your MLB career, how differently do you think you would approach it than you did in your era?
Well, I was fortunate last year to be to be the hitting coach for the Yankees, so I was able to kind of lean into what's going on in the game nowadays. You know, how guys are looking at the numbers, what they're looking at, and all that. And I love that you had Will Clark on, Ricky. He was my idol growing up. Will and I have become friends over the years, but he was the reason I wanted to play Major League Baseball. And it's incredible being a career 302 hitter because I believe Will was a career 303 hitter, and we were right there. So I was very grateful for that. But I think when you look, I think as a hitter, you still have to realize that this game has been around a long time. And at the end of the day, it's your job. Your job as a hitter to slow down, hunt a zone. You can't cover the whole plate at times, and especially nowadays. But you have to really be able to slow the game down. And I believe hunt the fastball, right, and work off the fastball. So if you're hunting the fastball and anything else shows up, a curveball, a slider, a changeup that's up, now you can sit back and still hammer that pitch. Sometimes we get in trouble as hitters guess hitting where we're trying to guess along with what they're throwing. I think sometimes you can get in trouble there because visually everything's happening so fast. But I think with the numbers and with the analytics they have now, I would say if I was a 23-year-old Sean Casey or Will Clark or whoever, I would say to the guys, hey, listen, really take these numbers that we have. Whatever number that you could use that can keep it simple for you, use it. But don't use all these numbers. Find a way to maybe if a pitcher, hey, this guy I'm going to face a lefty late in the game, and he throws 65% first pitch outside fastballs, or he throws when he gets 2 strikes on him, he's going to throw a 53% of the time he throws a backdoor slider. Like those are numbers I'd love to have where I can make some educated guesses on. So I think the analytics are really good because they can help you form your game plan in a great way. But I also think you can get into trouble in this game as a hitter when you start overthinking the analysis, paralysis by analysis. You can really shut down your natural hitting ability and your vision if you're thinking about too many things.
Sean, sadly, last week, of course, we lost another pretty good Cincinnati Red. Pete Rose passing away. A lot of talk that has come up since then. Of course, there's been plenty of that talk for the last 35 years anyway about Pete Rose's Hall of Fame case and Pete Rose being reconciled with baseball, I suppose. What are your thoughts on Pete and his legacy and the possibility of one day Pete Rose being enshrined in Cooperstown?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get to know Pete pretty well over the years, being part of the Reds organization and having some, run-ins with them and some great conversations. I mean, there's nobody better to talk to about hitting than Pete Rose. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about, embodying the game of baseball. I feel like his whole role in life was to be an incredible baseball player and the hit king and all the things that he did on the field. I don't know. I guess for me, I think Pete Rose should be in Cooperstown. I really do. I heard Rob Manfred, I think, say at one time that it's a museum and it's a collection of the greatest players of all time. And obviously, I know, obviously we know the stuff with Pete and gambling and some other things he's had, but as far as his on the field things as a player, I think as a player, he should be in Cooperstown at some point. And I do think, I know people have differing opinions, but, that's just my opinion. And I think hopefully Pete at some point is inducted into Cooperstown.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Sean. That pretty much is my sentiment as well. Let me pivot here from baseball for a second and kind of get on my brand as the Super 70s sports guy. You and I are, I think, separated by just maybe about 3 years. I've got about 3 years on you, I think. Growing up in the 80s, what was the music? What was the stuff that you were into? Video games, music, TV shows. What are your favorites, man?
First off, Ricky, I'm a huge fan of yours, dude. I don't know if you know that. Dude, your Super 70s stuff is so freaking genius and incredible, dude. Like on my podcast, The Mayor's Office, the guy I do it with, Rich Cincinnati, we're always texting back your stuff. So first off, I just want to say thank you for being so funny and so creative, incredible stuff. I was like, and I love your stuff because we are close to the same age, so it kind of hits me a little bit, but because I laugh at so many different things. But if I go back to the 80s, I was born in 74, so like that was like, mid 80s. I was lucky, like 80s into the 90s, it was that Poison and Motley Crue and, Cinderella. I kind of loved all that. Then I liked a little NWA here and there, every once in a while. I remember I come in, my dad, we had this old Buick, and I come ride in and I'd have NWA blasted in there. I remember, and I would never turn it off. I was a teenager. I remember my dad would get in the car and be so mad at me. He's like, "You got to turn this crap down. This is too loud." It's like straight out of Compton. So but I liked a lot of the hair bands. Bon Jovi, AC/DC was big then, and it's so funny. Bob Seger. I'm still listening to all that music now. I still feel like that 16-year-old kid that's still in high school.
Yeah, well, I had Aaron Boone on the program, about a couple of months ago, and we were talking about Bob Seger, and he's a Bob Seger fan, but Skid Row.
Oh, Skid Row, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Skid Row concert. Boone was on here talking about some concert he went to. I think that he said that he went with you and some other guys,
Poison.
and
we went to Poison.
Yeah, Poison. All right, there you go.
Me, Aaron Boone, Adam Dunn, Todd Walker, and Danny Graves. We had a doubleheader one time, and Todd Walker. We had a doubleheader, I believe, against the Toronto Blue Jays, and we had to go to Indianapolis for the concert. So it was like 2 games that they ended quickly. We got in this limousine. We went to Poison, and we had the best time at the Poison concert. And I believe Winger and Cinderella opened for Poison, which was even a better concert. So it was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, Kip Winger, you can't beat that. All right. Let me get you one more here before I get you out of here, because I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna take up too much of your time.
No, this is great.
We were talking about
I'm good. Okay. I love it.
All right. We were talking about childhood crushes, Booney and I, and Tootie from Facts of Life was one of Boone's crushes. So for you, when you think back on it, teenage Sean Casey, who did you have your eye on?
Cindy Mancini, Can't Buy Me Love. Remember Cindy Mancini, Ronald Miller's girlfriend?
Oh.
And Can't Buy Me Love? I love Cindy Mancini.
Good call.
I loved her. And then I also loved Elizabeth Shue with Karate Kid. Remember Elle?
Yes.
Elle? I had crushes on Elizabeth Shue, and I don't know the girl's name that played Cindy Mancini on Can't Buy Me Love. Those were my two teenage crushes.
Good call. I mean, no wonder Johnny was so pissed. Somebody comes in and steals Elizabeth's shoe from you. I'd fight a motherfucker too, Sean, under those circumstances. Are you kidding me? Of course he was angry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. All right, Sean, look. I'm saying,
why wouldn't Johnny want to take out, the radio on the beach there and make sure that Daniel was sent a message, with Elizabeth's shoe looking to leave him?
Absolutely. Johnny was the good guy as far as I'm concerned. You got this punk coming in from across the country and trying to wreck your life, and you're the bad guy. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. All right, one more here. Classic arcade games.
Oh, yeah.
What do you like? I mean, Donkey Kong, Galaga. Where are you coming from there?
You know what? I used to love being at Pizza Hut when my parents were like, "Hey, we're gonna go get the personal pan pizza just came out." So
oh yeah,
I was like, "Oh, perfect." And you go to Pizza Hut and you're waiting for the pizza, and you go to that flat top Galaga Ms. Pac-Man game. That was the go-to one. Galaga Ms. Pac-Man was one of my favorite. But this is my favorite, and this goes down. My mom used to drop me off at the arcade, and it literally, my dad would give me like $1. It was so ridiculous. So I had to start grinding and become a great player because I had no money. So I had 4 quarters, and I literally think I became a master at Championship Sprint. Do you remember that game? Championship with the wheels, and you're going, you gotta go up and down. Yeah. And I could literally, Ricky, I could play 1 quarter for 3 hours. People would come in and "Oh, he's there." And I was like, I can't. I'm so glad I became a Major League Baseball player, because if I didn't, I would have been known as the dude that dominated Championship Sprint at South Hills Village Arcade for no one could beat me.
All right, Sean. Two things here. One, we got to get you back on the program during the off season so we can dig deeper into this.
I would love to come back on. Please.
All right. Got to have you back. And when you come back, I'm going to introduce you as 302 career hitter and Championship Sprint all-time great.
Yes.
All right. So that's the deal that I'm making with you here.
I would love that. That would make childhood Sean Casey so happy you don't even know.
All right, you got yourself a goddamn deal. All right, thank you so much, man. A blast here talking to you. Look forward to doing it again.
Ricky, you're the best, dude. I can't wait to do it again. Please get me on again because I got more stuff for you, brother. Thank you. Good luck, man.
It's
and like
done.
I said, big fan of yours too, man. Big fan of yours.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.